This is part 4 of my soon-to-be published book, Becoming You, on acceptance. And over the last few videos, we've been building something together. We started by getting to know yourself honestly, without flinching, and then we learned to actually listen to what we found. And in the last video, we looked at the voices inside you, the inner child, the inner critic, and the inner nurturing parent. So by now, you'll probably notice some things about yourself. Maybe some of them were easy to see, and maybe some of them were harder. Because here is what nobody tells you about self-discovery. The moment you see something true about yourself, something else moves in fast. Judgment. You notice a pattern, and before you can even understand it, you are already condemning yourself for having it. You see the fear behind your people-pleasing, and instead of compassion, you feel contempt. You notice how quick you are to shut down, and instead of curiosity, you feel disgust. Self-awareness was supposed to set you free. Instead, it has handed the inner critic a whole new set of weapons. This is exactly where so many people get stuck. They do the hard work of looking inward, and then they punish themselves for what they find. So today, we're talking about the step that makes all of it worthwhile: acceptance. Because without it, everything you have learned about yourself so far just becomes more ammunition. And with it, everything changes. Let me give you a simple map, because I think it will help. There are 4 stages to real lasting change: awareness, acceptance, choice, and action. Awareness is seeing what is true about you. Acceptance is stopping the fight with what you see and find. Choice is deciding what you want to do about it, if anything. And action is actually doing it. And here's the part people miss. You cannot skip a stage. You cannot leap from awareness straight to action, because the fight with yourself is still running via your unconscious underneath, and it will sabotage everything you try to build. Acceptance is the hinge the whole thing swings on. Skip it, and choice becomes forced, and action becomes exhausting, because you're trying to build a new life on top of a war zone. So let's talk about what acceptance actually is, because I think it gets badly misunderstood. Acceptance is not approval. Accepting that something happened to you, or accepting a part of yourself you do not love, is not the same as saying it was fine. Acceptance is not resignation either. It is not lying down and deciding nothing can never change. And this is the big one, so stay with me here. Acceptance is not giving up on growth. So many of us believe somewhere deep down that self-criticism is what keeps us disciplined. That if we ever stopped being hard on ourselves, we would somehow become lazy or complacent or worse. But think about that belief for a moment. Has criticism ever actually made you change any faster? Or has it just made you feel worse while the pattern stayed pretty much the same? Shame, for example, does not create change. Shame keeps you exactly where you are, because you're too busy defending yourself to actually look at what is happening. Real change has never once come from self-attack. It comes from safety. It comes from a voice inside you that can say, this is where I am, calmly, without flinching, without needing to punish you for being there. Let me show you what is actually happening when acceptance is missing. There is a voice inside so many of us that says, I should not feel this. I should not still be triggered by this. I should be over this by now. And you do see what that voice is doing. It is not just asking you to change. It is asking you to feel bad about needing to change at all. Now that is a double burden or bind. You're carrying the original struggle, and now you're carrying the shame of still having it. Acceptance lifts the second half of that weight. It lets you say, I feel this, and that is simply true right now for me. Instead of, I feel this, and that means there's something wrong with me. And here is one of the most useful shifts I know. The next time you notice something in yourself that you do not like, try changing the question you ask. Instead of asking, what is wrong with me? Ask, why did this make sense? Every pattern you have ever developed made sense once. It protected you, or it helped you survive something, or it got you through a moment when you had no better options. When you ask why it made sense, you stop attacking yourself and start understanding yourself. And understanding is the beginning of real change, in a way that judgment has never once managed to be. So here is the paradox I want to leave you with today, because it is the heart of this whole video. We cannot change what we refuse to accept, and we rarely need to change what we have fully accepted. Listen to that again, because it will save you years of fighting yourself. Acceptance does not freeze you in place. It is what finally allows movement, because you are no longer spending all your energy at war with what already is. So before you move on from this video, I want you to try something. Think of one thing about yourself you have been fighting. Just say it plainly, without softening it and without attacking yourself for it. This is where I am right now. Notice how that feels, because some of it will feel possible and some of it might still feel out of reach. Both of these are useful information. The places where acceptance is hard are not failures. They are simply the places where the work is still in progress. And knowing where those places are is itself an act of honest self-knowledge. It is exactly where this whole journey began. Acceptance is not the end of becoming. It is where becoming you finally begins. And in the next video, we move into choice and what it actually takes to decide deliberately who you're going to become. And I'll see you there.